Hello, hello. So in this video, we're going to go through how to actually set up some of the ChatGPT integrations and leverage them in Salesforce with flows for things like trying to create a UI experience with a screen flow so that you could maybe set up a predefined prompt, or to create reusable flows such as auto launch flows that then you can create those generic prompts or setups, bring in Salesforce merge data, and actually feed it over to GPT, whether through some triggered automations or purely just, yet again, from the UI as a user is experiencing it. So in this tutorial, you'll have needed to at least set up the integration that has been built already. There's other material on that, so we'll be skipping over that entirely, and we'll be jumping right into the features themselves. So I'm going to minimize myself down, and we're going to actually get into Salesforce and get hands-on with this. Now, some of what I've already built, just to showcase this and get a little idea of what's going on, is coming here. I have this account Moto Labs that I was playing around with before, and I'm heading over to my GPT prompts, where right here I have this simple prompt predefined, where what it's trying to do is I ask the question, write me a professional brief on a company. Here's the information I have on them. Okay, and now we have our merge data, such as the name of the company, Moto Labs. We have the company description that I've collected, and then we have the company website. So this is just to give you the idea of being able to have these predefined. So as a user, I could come in after maybe I've enriched an account with a whole bunch of data. I could feed it over to GPT and get some useful outputs back. Now, pressing the next button would actually fire off and cause us to send to GPT, and then we'd get our information back. Now, I've also added in a little screen flow for seeing some of the outputs that we have just associated with this account. So here, I ended up running the question, and then what it came back with was a whole bunch of different information. And I find that this one, specifically this use case, is not my favorite. So I'll show you one that I really liked a lot better, and that was coming over to this meeting, where what I did was I created a fake conversation between two people, John Smith and Mike Williams, and or three people, and Sarah Johnson. So these people were meeting to have a discussion between different companies, where they're all discussing some. We have a retailer, a logistics company, and a wholesaler. Now, what we did was we took this conversation transcript, and we actually took it and put it into the same idea where we created the flow that has just a generic prompt question that I'm trying to have answered quickly. And then we feed in the dynamic information from this event, which was the transcription. Now, heading to our output, we could skip down to what I was interested in from the prompt is, hey, give me the key points of this. So XYZ Retailers is looking for a reliable logistics partner. Mega Wholesales is being considered a supplier of the retailer. This retailer currently ships 500 to 700 orders per week and is looking for a daily pickup. So right there, that gives us a lot of value to quickly give some nice meeting notes that could have been sent out almost immediately after this conversation or this meeting to the rest of the people, which you could automate as well and throw that in. But the point here is less about the use cases that I've come up with in just this example, but more about how you could build them. And so that's what we're going to start to dive into. Initially, when you first install the app, you only have this functionality right here, which is the open AI chat, right? And so here we're able to create the chats or have a conversation of sorts, see them, come back in and, use it that way. But we're not, So then I have to specifically always grab information I need, come up with the prompt, stuff like that. Now, to build out this stuff, this is where we want to kind of jump into both flows and a little bit of the object setup. So what does that even look like? Well, I'm going to head back to an account, and I'm going to edit the object. So here, the account, we have so many different fields that we can end up leveraging that we gain information on. So heading over to our chat object, the OpenAI chat object, this is what I end up relating to whatever object that I feel I need. So for example, account. So I put a lookup on here, and now I can relate it directly to accounts and get the information that comes in, and also relate it right back to that record to be able to display it. Your other option would be to just put a target ID on. And that's to say, hey, here's the record ID, and we're going to save that to each chat so that then we know where we're going to bring this information back to, or just to use for showing all those outputs. So those are customizations you could add directly yourself. But let's actually see how we could build the prompts themselves, because that's really the meat and potatoes that's going to get us started where we want to go. So I'm going to head over to Flows. And then right out of the box, when you install the application, you're actually going to get this one as a template. We have the ChatGPT case screen flow template. So what you get here right out of the bat is that you have the screen flow that you put it onto a record page, much like we saw with these other ones right here. And you're going to end up passing it the value, the record ID, and all the values of that record into the flow. So here now I have this case one, and it's going to be able to give me all the information so that then I can set up these prompts however I want. Now in this one, I allow the user to also add to the question that they're interested in. And so then I can type whatever I want that's specific to the case, but I can also, later on, I add the question that the person has. So I have this chat question right here, and I'm saying, I have a question about this case. Here's the case summary. So we always put the case summary into this predefined prompt. And then here is my question. This is the user input that we're looking for to add that extra specific dynamic need that user may have. And then we would submit this all to ChatGPT, which really we have 3 other components that we have to go through. The ChatGPT model that we're getting. So right here, we go and grab a custom metadata value that is choosing, okay, which model are we running right now? Are we going to run Turbo 3.5? Are we going to run GPT-4? And so that's up to you to decide which version you want. There's also going back to the older models of like DaVinci and stuff. So if you're really feeling experimental, have fun. But the standard one that comes out of the box is perfectly A-OK and will meet most use cases. Here we have this create the chat. This is the top level chat that is going to hold all the information. And then all the inputs and outputs are going to be saved as chat object or chat message records, which is a separate object from the chat. So that just looks like if we actually go over to our handy schema model, you'll end up seeing how this is pretty quickly. So I'm going to put it in chat. And so here, the chat controls just, here's the overall conversation. And then all the messages are the inputs and outputs saved as separate records so that you're just looking at, hey, this is in, this is out. And so we're going to head back to the screen flow itself, right? And in here, so I created the chat itself. I just assigned who's the user and give it the model that we're trying to use, which is GPT 3.5. And then from here, we just send off, here's the chat ID that we created, and here's the user input. That's all you need to pass to this Apex action. Boom. now you're running things in chat. You're interacting with ChatGPT through flows. So how do we get to the point that I was at with coming back to this Modo Labs and having just predefined prompts where I'm more interested in having these specific scenarios that I need to complete often I don't want to have to come up and type another prompt. I know what I need. I just need to put in the data overall. So how can we do that? So I'm going to go and take a look at this event summary one. And in here, you can see it looks exactly the same pretty much, because all I did was clone that last one and make a few edits. The first edit I make is, instead of having an input, we're just taking, hey, this is the question we're interested in. And really, I would come and say, okay, cool. Here's my chat question. Here's a text template. And all I have is, in this case, I define the chat template within each of these flows. And I say, all right, cool. What do I want from this specific one? I want to summarize the key points of this meeting transcription. And then I'm just going to pass in, here's the transcription. And then here's the actual dynamic data to bring in. Boom. Pretty straightforward. Okay. So other than the changes to the screen flow, we really don't have many other changes, and we still just send to GPT. So that is one way to kind of build these prompts out, where you're just able to quickly take these templates and save a new flow, really just change the record ID, and then update some of the chat questions. And that'll give you something to run with pretty quickly. Now, one thing is, each of these are screen flows. So one recommendation is that if you wanted to make these prompts work nicely with record triggered flows, maybe you come up with a few different prompts, right? And you're consistently using those. Then my recommendation is to add an auto launch flow that could be far more dynamic, so that then you could input whatever you need and then reuse it in a screen flow, or you could use it in a record trigger flow. And the record trigger flow purpose would be like, if I we get a new account, it has a whole bunch of data that we're now interested in. And so now we want to set off a prompt, or maybe an event was updated with that transcription. Now I want to immediately, instead of having to go back in and use the UI, like I would in this case, I come in here, I have to click. If I want to actually get this meeting transcription, I'd update here, and now it would do the prompt. I could take that whole step out by adding in the ability to do this with record trigger flows. So that's where we'd have to come back into our flow builder. And you could either do, yet again, you could do this directly in the record trigger, or you can create these auto launch ones so that then you have that flexibility to go in any direction that you want. So what does that look like? Well, the first thing we want to do is add in the record ID, right? So that's our first variable. It's going to be of a record, and we want it for input output. And this is the part where these ones will be specific, at least to the object that you need to work with. So I may want this an account one, a case one, whatever that you're looking to work with. Now I put in event, and I got to go down an endless list of many different event objects. And finally I find the right one, hit done. Cool. Now from here, I want to have those prompts that I'm able to build. So for me, my interest is in pretty much this version. So another way, because I have all this already built out in the ScreenFlow, one thing we're going to try to do, which should be pretty fun, so we're going to try to change the flow type. Boom. So I could change this right down, and I am looking for auto launch, no trigger. ChatGPT event summary auto launched. So just keeping to my naming convention that's in my organization currently. And from here, we're now going to hit the save button. And cool. So yeah, we lost this screen. That's fine. We're not interested in that anyways. So what we're going to try to do, which, oh man, I might have had to delete this before I came in here. That's okay. I'll try to freeform it, delete, auto layout. Oh, nope, can't do that yet. Save, boom. Alrighty, action. The process type auto launch flow only supports current transaction in the flow transaction model. We will hunt down what this is. So you want to give me that error. That is fine by me. Alrighty. I wonder if it's what setting it's in. Take the template away. Maybe remove that. Okay. Looks like we're going to rebuild this real quick. Grab the chat ID. Grab the user input. Send to GPT. Boom. Now we're going to head off. We're going to hit done. Let's drop this one. Put it to that one. That migration effort. As we can see, the migration effort was a little tricky, but that's okay. We got to where we wanted to be, and without too much change. We've gotten rid of the screen, so that's kind of cool. And the other thing is now that we have it set up this way, we can actually run this in a record trigger flow anyways. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit the activate button. And now I'm going to build a record trigger flow to kick off when I update the description. So we'll go into our other flows. We'll hit new flow, have a good time, create a record trigger. This has to be after an update, which is a little bit of a stickler, in my opinion. So one thing that this is going to do, at least because we are not updating anything for as a result of ChatGPT, this is all going to happen on a separate object. That is one nice thing where we're not going to have recursion occur, because what we're going to do is after this fires, or after we update the event, we'll end up just sending off a chat message, and what's going to come back, all the outputs, they'll get saved as records, and all of that generally is happening usually asynchronously. And the reason I say usually asynchronously is because we have a timeout that recognizes, hey, this is going to time out. Cool. Switch to an asynchronous processing. So if you want this purely asynchronous, you could also make this part of the flow asynchronous, but really it's up to you to play with. So anywho, now that we have this, I want to say I'm actually going to do this as an entry criteria. So I want to say when my description is null is false, and description has changed. True. Cool. All right. Now I know 100% sure we're coming in when the description has changed for the first time. And the idea here is that I would be setting up an integration to say that my meeting notes are automatically synced from a transcription when a meeting is completed. So very separate from this. We will not be doing that in this video. We're just setting up how to react to that kind of information. If you're interested in that, contact me and I'll see what I could do to help you out there. So now that we've entered, so the only thing that should enter this flow are ones that actually meet the criteria that I'm looking for. So now for this one, I want to go back and reference that other flow. And the reason I'm doing it this way is just because I can reuse it. Like there could have been, maybe I have other criteria here. Like I have decision, oh, I want this. Maybe I have two different event summary ones. Like maybe this isn't a transcription all the time. Sometimes it might be just hand notes, and I might have another field that I need to change that flow path. For our case, this is super simple and straightforward, so we're just going to use this flow and have only one exit. But keep in mind, there's always room to grow here. So for this, we're going to say send transcription to GPT. Cool. What we want to input to this is the record ID. So I'm going to go pass in and I could pass in the whole record actually. So we're going to pass in the whole record, and then we're going to hit OK. I'll hit save. Now this is a record triggered flow, so I'm going to go with, let's see, event after update description. Cool. And note that this is only an after update, so I won't be able to do this on creation if I changed the description. So in that case, what we're now going to go do, we're going to create a meeting. Meeting 2. That way we could differentiate it from the last one. Alrighty, I've created the meeting. Now I need to update this, and in theory, we would have had some kind of transcription come through from somewhere else. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually create a mock meeting conversation. And I'm just doing this to give myself something to play with, so that then, you know, we have something a little better than just me making up a few little words. Alrighty, scenario is now done. Cool. We're going to hit it. Save. Alrighty. So now, let's see if this all worked. Just this is all done live in production, so big no-no right there, just for everyone. But, you know, this is a production demo environment in reality, so we could play around with that. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to see if this output pulls it, if it knows to find it. Alrighty, it doesn't know to find that one, but we're going to go see if I know how to do this. Nope, we got an error. What did we get as an error? Oh, no, I see why. Never mind. It's not an error it's from that flow. So I'm watching the email come in. Aha, this one is brand new, and this will be the right one. Okay, and let's also check. Okay, so summarize. Yep, here's our conversation. And now here's our meeting summary notes. The meeting is discussing the progress of a new product development. The development team has completed the initial design phase. During the testing, some features are not functioning. Cool. Okay. So now that we have that, let's actually take a look at surfacing this, because there's a good point to why this failure that we just saw, this is a place where I'm trying to output everything, and our issue here is the way that I set this flow up. So, and I do want to make this one more available, because it's a great way to surface things from one record to another, because you do not have direct relations between this message, these messages, and the records. You can get the direct relations here. So that's how that's working. Now, what I should have done is added in the target ID that I had for this event. pop that in. And then we're going to pop back, and I bet you through magic this will work. Magic! Ha! Apparently I didn't add the record ID to the flow to set that one value. So that's also a good point, but we'll end up heading back in. And this is why you test outside of production. And let's see. So when I'm creating these event summaries through the auto launch, it'd be nice if I added in the target ID. Boom. And we'll save the new version and activate. So some of these will be available to you right off the bat. And the reason I show you that you need to do this is because the native package does not relate to your records. That's up to you. We want to keep it open. We want to keep it flexible. The point is not everyone needs this. Some people are just looking for something else, or they may never ever use this target ID. There's also the fact that one of my other cases, I related directly to the account. Why am I not relating it to the event or task? Salesforce limitation. You cannot do a lookup to those. Just a heads up. So that's why we have this target ID one. Any other gotchas I could think of? The other thing is that we will be making, let's see, this one flow that shows you all the good stuff together available. And that is this get the related messages flow. So that is what you're looking at in right here. So this part where it formats and does a whole bunch of making it, kind of look a little bit nicer and surfaces it to the actual record is controlled through a nice little bit of logic where in this screen flow where we give you, hey, here's the, we start off as usual, here's the record ID. Then we're going to get the chats based on either the target or the lookup field. Then we're going to loop through, add all the IDs to a list just for that chat. So in case you have multiple separate chat conversations, then we'll get all the chat messages for each of those chat conversations. Finally, we'll add these to a conversation that, or a template that goes forward, which looks something like this, where we do an input. We decide, is this an input and an output? Put in the actual message and then continue to space it so that then you could actually see the difference. Once everything's put together, then it could surface everything onto the screen and show you all the information, which, as you can see, it looks like nothing inside of this flow, and that it looks like a lot of something inside of the actual final product. So a lot there to consume, but the biggest thing is to note that a lot of this is really just a save as, create another version, and just continue to add on. And really it's going to come down to, hey, getting the information that you want into the places that make this available to you. I hope you enjoyed, and I know that there's probably a lot of questions that could stem from this, especially with possibilities. So reach out, and hope you have a lot of fun building with this. Alrighty, catch you later.